Well, unless we get two absolutely spectacular results today against teams above us in the league, I think any hope we had of European qualification through the Premier League is gone. But never say never. Hello and welcome to part 149 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our final two Premier League games of the season, away against Chelsea and at home against Newcastle. We've just had the one game since you were last with me, and it was a 3-1 home defeat against Palace. I think the squad are very much in FA Cup distraction mode again. If you take the FA Cup out of the equation, it's been a pretty pitiful run of form in the league, and it has seen us fall to the bottom half of the league for the first time in a long time. You're going back to, when was that? November, since we were last in the bottom half of the league. We had a good solid run for a good long time, and it is nice going into the final two games of the season still with an outside chance of a European push, because we do have a game in hand on everybody above us apart from Norwich. Unfortunately, that game in hand is against Chelsea away from home, so we're probably going to lose it. But if we were to win, we'd find ourselves in 8th place going into the final day of the season, just 2 points behind 5th place Villa, who've shot back up the league again. Villa are up and down this league like nobody's business. So it's still possible, but obviously the majority of our focus is on tomorrow's FA Cup final, which I've just noticed, looking at my little notes here, falls on episode 150 as well. What a brilliant turn of events that is. But this is the team we're putting out there for today's game against Chelsea. Must win if we're going to qualify for Europe through the league. Otherwise, it's going to be a one-game season going into the FA Cup final, needing that European qualification. So we've got Vujicic in goal. A back four of Joksimovic, Brodic, Taggart and Cutler. Tommy Taggart back in the team because Holmqvist, he's now done for the season. He's going to be missing the FA Cup final. He has pulled ankle ligaments, going to be out for the next 3 weeks. So unfortunately, we're going to have to struggle on without Holmqvist. Although, of course, Mitch Dos Santos can play in the FA Cup because he's not registered for the Premier League. I wish that thing would stop making noises. So unprofessional. There we go. Where do we get to? Midfield, Fazio, Wanda and Hayes. And then up front, we have Nuhu in behind Nogueira and Kerr. This front six pretty much picks itself, especially with Jensen injured. There was never going to be... If they're fit, these 6 players play, or these 5 plus Nogueira, because he's the only other striker. At the back, the only issue I've got is Tommy Taggart the man? Should we be playing Kulikov, who's never really looked any good this season? Or is it going to prove to be a mistake not having Dos Santos registered for the Premier League? Although, quite frankly, I don't know who we leave out to get Dos Santos into the team, because who would you leave out? Kulikov, I guess, would be the guy. He's the only other non-English player who doesn't ever really get a look in. So I guess there's an argument Dos Santos should have been in the squad ahead of Kulikov. That being said, Kulikov is our player. Dos Santos is only here on loan for this season, and realistically, probably going to be going back this summer because he hasn't, even before we took him out of the squad at Christmas, he wasn't holding down a regular place in the team. He perhaps started 1 or 2 games, and if he's not going to massively improve the squad the way the likes of Fazio do, what's the point of keeping him here on loan? You could make the same argument for Robinson as our backup left back, but he is here on loan next season for Manchester United because we tied him down to a 2-year loan last summer. As we reach the end of the season, we are starting to think in terms of summer business, and we talked on the last episode about definitely wanting at least 1 or 2 Premier League quality strikers, maybe 1 more centre-back. Obviously, if we're losing Dos Santos, if we've decided Kulikov's not good enough, if we're not sure if Taggart is good enough, we really just have Brodic, Holmqvist, who at best should probably be our first reserve, but we need a partner for Brodic at the back. We need an alternative. I mean, that's handy, isn't it? We need an alternative to Nogueira up front, but Fazio is a big issue because Fazio's loan expires this summer. He has been a key part for the last 2 years of this midfield that has just been superb. He would be desperately missed if we couldn't. I guess we're going to have to try and sign him permanently. Unless Tottenham give him another contract. But if Tottenham give him another contract at this point, presumably that's going to be with a view to actually playing him. So we definitely won't get him. So we've got to hope he gets released by Tottenham and then chooses us ahead of what presumably is going to be a queue of teams who are after him, because he is a top quality player. He was player of the tournament at the under-21 Euros last summer. So he is a very promising youngster who I think Tottenham would probably want to keep and bring into their team next season. Players potentially leaving the club. There is interest in Joksimovic again. There's interest in Hayes, interestingly. but we can't lose Hayes and Fazio in one summer. Vujicic, I imagine, is probably going to be subject to a bid or two this summer, and if we can get anywhere near that £30 million asking price, we'll let him go and let Oliveira come through. But I'm not letting Vujicic go for the £11 million he wanted to go through when he tried to force through a transfer in January, and we just didn't let him. Which, by the way, he's now quit whinging about. He's no longer looking to leave to go to Chelsea, but I'm sure that situation will change as soon as we hit the summer, especially if everything goes wrong over the next 2 episodes and we end up finishing in the bottom half of the Premier League and not qualifying for Europe. So there's quite a lot riding on the FA Cup final, realistically, unless we can find a way back into this game, and we do. And of course, if we're finding a route back into a game, it's only ever going to be through Nuhu, who, I mean, can someone get Damon Albarn on the phone? I want Blur to re-record song 2 with Nuhu. There you go. Kev will record it himself. If we win the FA Cup with a Nuhu hat-trick, I'll record my version of song 2 with Nuhu. Oh, please, I don't want to do that. If we win, I'll just replay the game. If we win with a Nuhu hat-trick, I'll redo it. I am not singing on the internet. I have some standards. But I can just imagine, certainly at our home games, surely we're playing song 2 every time he scores, and the fans are just... Oh, I'm picturing it. It's a glorious thing. Right, heading into half-time then, we just need to try and hold on. If Chelsea score here, I'll be sad. It hits the post, bounces back out, and Vujicic does manage to get hold of it. So 1-1 going into half-time, and as it stands, that would put us in 8th place in the league. 3 points behind Norwich in that fabled 6th place. Remember, Norwich won the Carabao Cup, though, so actually if Norwich finish top 6, then 7th place becomes a Europa League spot, I think. Actually does it though, because of the FA Cup? Actually no, so it's 5th place will be an automatic Europa League. Norwich, who are now in 6th, get the next one, and I think there's only one more which goes to the FA Cup winners, which is either going to be us or Everton, neither of us in the top 7. So actually I don't think 7th place is enough. We do need to hunt down Norwich for that 6th place, because they're in Europe anyway. It's just greedy them finishing top 6. Naguera's been terrible today. Let's get him off, bring Kerr on. Fazio hasn't been great either. Let's shuffle the midfield around a little bit to get McAllister into it. Leave it there for now. We've got 20 minutes to try and find a winner. We need a winner more than Chelsea do. Chelsea aren't going to drop out of those Champions League spots, presumably. If Villa get into the Champions League ahead of Chelsea, that's just silly. But we need that goal to put some pressure on Norwich, because that would put us up to 57 points. We would still be behind Tottenham on goal difference, because our goal difference is appalling and theirs is quite good. But I want to go into that final day of the season knowing that we've actually still got a Europa League spot to play for. And it's absolutely not going to happen if we lose this game, because that goal pushes us all the way back down to 11th again. I've never seen a Premier League like it. Things are so tight. Fazio's now carrying a knock, it seems. So we might have to take Fazio off. I think the only midfield option we've got on the bench now after the substitutions is Stojanovic, who, I mean, he was decent last year. We haven't really given him much of an opportunity this year, but with Latka leaving the club again, Stojanovic now re-emerges as our backup option in midfield once McAllister is our midfield utility substitute is out of the way. Obviously we've got Wagner as well, who can play in the middle of midfield. In fact, in the circumstances, Wagner might be the right man to bring on for Fazio. Fazio's we already took him off for McAllister. You're an idiot, Kev. Kerr's not playing well. Let's bring Wagner on. And, I mean, we may as well see what Nuhu's like up front. I mean, he's not a complete forward, is he? Let's just see if he can do it. Stick Nuhu up front for 15 minutes. What's the worst that could happen? Hopefully we don't permanently break him. At least we know he's a finisher. So just playing him a little bit further forward is surely going to give him more opportunities to score goals. But playing him as a complete forward, which he can't do. You know how Football Manager works. Oh, I can't do this role, even though it's almost identical to the one I usually play. I'll start being rubbish now. But fingers crossed. He gets into a position here to get on the end of this cross from Lazic, which should come in. It does. Lazic to Nuhu. And Nuhu, the newly converted striker, grabs his second equaliser of the game. And with 5 minutes to go, Enoch Nuhu's on another hat-trick. And we've got a chance here to put some pressure on Norwich. 5 minutes to go. We need to find a winner. I tell you what, this is a lovely header from Nuhu. Do I need to be buying a striker for the summer, or do we actually need to be retraining Nuhu? The amount of goals that man scores, yes, we'd miss him we'd miss having all those goals from midfield, because if you have two good goal scorers ahead of him, having a 20-goal a season attacking midfielder will be delicious. But if we're struggling to find a striker, and we know he's already a 20-goal a season midfielder, how many goals would he score up front? Right, we've got 4 minutes of added time to try and find a winner from somewhere. Have we got a winner in us? It doesn't look like we have. There's 10 seconds left. Vujicic with the goal kick towards Lazic, but he's nowhere near it. And Brodic heads clear. And I think, a 2-2 draw away against Chelsea any day of the week is a respectable result for a club like us. Unfortunately, in the circumstances, I think it has closed the door on European qualification, especially because Norwich still have that game in hand. We've just got to do it through the FA Cup. And obviously win on the last day of the season as well to try and finish as high as we possibly can. And we have more injury problems going into the FA Cup final. I know it's our final game of the season. We should be focused on this, but I'm more focused on the fact that Nogueira is now injured as well, and we'll also miss the FA Cup final. So, first team players who probably won't be fit for next week. Holmqvist might. He's due to begin full training again in 7 days. The FA Cup is 6 days away, I think. It's going to be touch and go over Holmqvist. Holmqvist will be able to sit on the bench at least. But Jensen, obviously, broken leg out for another 7 months. Christian Nogueira, pulled groin, 4 to 8 days. He might be fit. He's certainly not fit to play today, which means McAllister comes in up front. I know there's a strong argument I should have played Nuhu there, but if you actually have a look at who can play in that complete forward position, the only one of our non-strikers who's actually got any kind of ability at doing it is Jim McAllister. So we'll play him there today. You never know, he might be a revelation and he can then play there in the FA Cup final. But what we really want, we've got a youth midfield player on the bench. That's how desperate things are getting. What we really want is a nice win today for 2 reasons. Firstly, to secure as high a Premier League finish as possible, even though it's very unlikely we're going to be able to get into Europe through the Premier League. But just like we did before the semi-final, we want momentum going into the cup final, especially when we're struggling with injuries to some key players. It would just be nice for this 11 to show that they're capable of putting on a good performance and picking up a win, because if this 11 plays well today, this will likely be the 11 that starts next week. Joksimovic, very risky 50-50 when he's already on a yellow card. The last thing he wants is to get sent off the match before the FA Cup final, because then obviously he'll be suspended for it. Hayes plays it forward to Nuhu, back to Hayes again, who plays it through to Kerr, back to Uanda. We're knocking the ball around nice in our midfield. We all know we're good at this. Nuhu tries to play McAllister in, McAllister not really alive to it. Maybe he's not a striker. We'll have none of that talk from any of you. Of course he's a striker. Why is my chair in the way? There we go. Problem solved. Taggart lumps it forward and Kerr nods down to McAllister. Obviously 2 Scottish internationals up front together, and it falls to Hayes. Hayes puts us 1-0 up after 12 minutes. I don't remember him ever scoring before. He might have scored before. I just certainly don't remember it. But both Kerr and McAllister have been called up to Scotland's squad to go to the Euros this summer. That's right, Scotland made it to the Euros. I'm going to say that's mainly because McAllister and Kerr are in the team and they're both Nuneaton players, which makes them superstars. But of course, as they have qualified for the Euros, we've scouted the rest of the team as well, as we have sent scouts to look at every team at both the Euros and the French Youth Invitational. That was a poor goal to give away. That was just sloppy. And that lets Newcastle back into the game. Immediate reply. So yeah, we have started our scouting for the summer. One thing we're not going to be able to do, which I know people are going to ask down in the comments, there's not going to be a live transfer window for this summer. Even though we've still got one more episode of this season to go with the FA Cup final tomorrow, there won't be a live transfer window because I'm actually recording this last Thursday in your world, because in my world, I'm just about to go to Summer in the City, and in your world, by the time you're seeing this, I'm now back from Summer in the City and I've left again, and I'm currently sat in Blackpool, I think. Or I'm going to Blackpool tomorrow. Whatever. When that gap between the 2 seasons would have been, I'll be in Blackpool. I won't be able to do it. So I'll be playing the transfer window offline, probably sat in my hotel room at Summer in the City, ready to record those last couple of episodes of the week when I get back, which has already happened for you. Oh, it hurts. I don't know how. I know there are some YouTubers who record their stuff way in advance. I very rarely do it, except when I'm not going to be at home. And goodness me, is it confusing my mind having to record all these videos in advance. But at least I got to pretend I didn't know if we won the FA Cup or not on Twitter for a week. Because in reality, I'm playing that in about 5 minutes' time. So I knew if we won the FA Cup from like 5 o'clock last Thursday. So if I was pretending I didn't know one way or the other, which I hope I was, then yeah, I knew all along. I'm obviously not going to admit to that. But that means when this video comes out, down in the comments, I know. I already know. But I'm not going to tell you. You'll find out tomorrow. Right, why are we not winning yet? Let's have a look. What can we do to try and change this up? McAllister has not impressed at all. Let's get Lazic on. Put Kerr as the complete forward, because this is our other option for the cup final. Lazic and Kerr. Lazic, I'm worried about Lazic because he's 21 years old now. He's still only 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential. I'm starting to think either one of Vena or Kavit, whatever the other guy was called, either one of them may have been the better foreign striker to keep. We kept Lazic because he was impressive right at the end of last season. He looked good. And I'm starting to think that was probably the wrong call. And Lazic probably is going to be someone who moves out of our Premier League squad next season. Whether it's because we move him on completely or with him being still only 21 with potential to improve, we might just send him out on loan for a year, see how he does, either playing down in the Championship or playing somewhere else in Europe. But I don't think he's a Premier League player for us yet. Right, we're going to take Wander off, bring Stojanovic on for the final 10 minutes, and hopefully we can find a goal from somewhere. It is Lazic running down the right wing. Cross is completely aimless, doesn't go anywhere near a blue shirt, but we do collect everything back. In fact, Newcastle were offside, so it doesn't matter that we were defending well, but we were defending well. I would like a last-minute winner, please, gentlemen. Hayes to Fazio. Possibly Fazio's last league appearance for us, depending on what happens over the summer. Lazic plays Kerr in, and that is a ridiculous miss from Kieran Kerr. I don't know how he managed to miss by quite as much as he did there. That was ridiculous. And we get a little bit of a break on again, but we've got no one chasing it. Is that Kerr? Just chasing it like he's running through treacle. And he's had a long season. His first season in English football, I think he is done. He's ready for a holiday. Lazic is in and fires wide. But of course, Kerr's not going to get a holiday because he's the main starting striker for Scotland as well. So he's going to come back for us at the start of next season, having played 3 games at the Euros and then come home. But he'll have played at the Euros and he'll come back tired, having had no holiday, which is going to be great when he's already looking... He's looked tired for like the last 6 weeks of this season. Right, Vujicic, 30 seconds to go, plays it up towards our front 3, but nobody gets anywhere near it. And I think we are ending the season with a 1-1 draw, which is going to leave us in 9th place, obviously not qualifying for Europe through the league. So if we are going to get European football next season, it is going to have to come tomorrow through winning the FA Cup against Everton. Easy peasy. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.